Superstars, how's it going? This is Coach Wood. Thank you so much for stopping by the channel today. We've got a great topic in line with you. For me, this is the end of the week, so you know I'm pumped up, but it doesn't matter because every single day, Monday through Friday, we're going to bring the topics, we're going to bring the practicality, we're going to bring the strategies that you young football players and you football families can take to the bank. All right. We've been talking to a lot of coaches. We've been talking to a lot of families. We've been publishing content. We've been busy. We've been busy over here at Before You Go Pro. So hopefully you are having an amazing day today, and hopefully we can add some value to your journey. That's what this is all about. If you're joining us for the very first time, welcome to the Before You Go Pro channel. I'm your host, Coach Wood. This is the football channel. You need to hit subscribe if you like the content that you hear today. If the content that you hear today is valuable to you, please consider hitting subscribe so that you're notified whenever we come back on YouTube and serve, because that's what we are all about with Before You Go Pro, is serving on a high level. Also, check out the description box. Check out that description box down there. We've got some great curated resources for you guys to separate from the competition. That's what we want our audience to do. We want to grow a great organic football audience, and we want our athletes and our football families to separate from the competition. Now that we have that out the way, let's get into today's content, you guys. And I've been thinking about this one for a while. I'm a father of 4. Now, none of my kids decided to follow in Dad's footsteps, and that's okay. None of my kids have decided to follow in Dad's footsteps as far as hitting the gridiron. I've got 3 boys, so you would think that maybe one of them would have jumped into a football helmet and shoulder pads, but they didn't go that route. You know, we've got some athletes, track, other things, but they didn't go that route. Actually, the first one that asked me to play football, tackle football, was the baby of the group. And that just happens to be my daughter. She was the very first one to come to me and say, "Daddy, can I play some tackle football?" So, you know, in my family, none of my kids are playing football. But I've got a ton, you guys, a ton of teammates, former teammates, people that I love and care for, that are having their kids come down the ranks. Now all the kids are coming down the ranks. I'm finding myself watching on Saturdays and Sundays and watching kids of people that I know. So with that being said, obviously I'm observing things. You know, Coach Wood is going to study some things and observe some things. And what I'm finding, you guys, especially for the former players that I'm connected with, and their kid is now going to play some big time Division I football, what I'm finding, you guys, is it's a formula. It is a stone cold formula how they're getting their kids to the level that they got to. We just had a great locker room show. Small plug. If you are not tuned into the locker room show, then you definitely need to check out the locker room show every Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Pacific, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, live right here on YouTube. We bring in the best of the best. We bring in the best of the best people who are really in the football industry to share love, support, and guidance with you, our audience. And we brought in a few people that I know that have kids that are now playing Division I football. And the more and more I listen to these parents, and these are guys that I know, guys I played with, but the more and more I listen to them, and the more I'm checking out what they're doing with their kids, it's a straight up formula, you guys. Now, obviously, there may be some predisposed unfair advantage a little bit genetically. As a matter of fact, one of my dear friends, Michael Lewis, shout out, was a great safety at the University of Colorado, became a 2nd-round draft pick to the Eagles, and ended up being a Pro Bowler for the Eagles. Well, his wife was on the track team at the University of Colorado, shout out Amherst, when he was there. So it's not a surprise that their kid is a Division I football player that's at Vanderbilt. That's not a surprise. If my mom's a mechanical engineer, my dad's a mechanical engineer, and I become a mechanical engineer, kind of makes sense, right? So it's a formula, you guys. This is not happenstance. This is not luck. They are actually putting in practices that are getting their kids scholarships, getting their kids major college football opportunities. And nowadays, you know what comes with the college football opportunity? Some NIL money, typically too, especially if you're playing at a very high level like the Power Four. But what's the formula, Coach Wood? What would you consider the formula? What are you hearing from your friends that are having their kids come through the ranks that they're doing? Give us the sauce. Give us the tips. Give us the advice. Well, here you go. The D1 formula for an athlete who has already performed at a high level and then now their kid is coming through the ranks, first and foremost, they're going to get started young. They're going to get started young. They may not even get started young in football, but they're going to get started young, keeping that kid active, keeping that kid limber. They're going to do things that help the kid stay healthy and stay strong. They're going to do things where the kid is pushed. A lot of them, you guys, are putting them against, they have them play against or practice and train with older people. So a lot of times, let's say even in basketball, I played in the NBA. Now my daughter wants to get serious in basketball. I may even have her play against boys. Now, if I've got a young man, I was a football player, I was a running back, and now my son's coming up in the game. What I'm finding, you guys, is that they'll have them train and work against older kids, kids that are more advanced, and it pushes them to raise their game. Now, I also have found that a lot of my friends that have football kids coming through the ranks, they've waited on when to put them in tackle football, almost to a T, you guys. If I talk to 10 of my friends that I played with at a high level of football, now their kids are coming through to a high level of football. 90% of them are starting with flag football. That's the formula that I'm finding. 90% of them are starting with flag football. Especially, I was a skill player, and a lot of my friends and former teammates are skill players. They were receivers, DBs, running backs. A lot of them have started with flag football. You want to get your kid used to the movements. You want them to get used to the game, but you don't want them to take the physical pounding early. You don't want them to take it. There's plenty of time where they're going to get a little beat up. You want to prevent that at least until right before high school. So there's the other thing. A lot of them will start with flag, but they will get a year in. They'll get a year or 2 years in of football, tackle football, right before high school. But they're not starting them at 5. They're not starting them at 6. The formula is to start them right before high school. Now, the other part of the formula that I'm seeing with a lot of my friends that played at a high level, now their kids are coming through a high level, is that they are very particular with the school, the high school that their kid goes to. Some of them coach, but some of them don't. A matter of fact, a lot of them prefer not to coach. But they're not just handing over their kids to somebody that doesn't know what they're doing. They are very keen on watching what the program is all about and what the head coach is about and what they're doing with their child. But a lot of them aren't coaching their child. Some of them are, maybe 50%, 40% of them are, but the rest are just making sure that their kid is at the right school. Outside of making sure that they're at the right school, I'm always hearing that the kids are playing multiple sports. Young athletes, parents of athletes are always playing multiple sports. It's very rare that you have an athlete and their parent was a big time athlete and they only do one sport. They're specialized in only one sport. It may end up that way as they get closer to graduating from high school and they find their money sport, the sport that they're going to college for. But a D1 formula from a D1 parent is usually going to consist of their kid coming up the ranks through playing multiple sports and being an athlete, a full-on athlete, you guys. They'll know the money sport. They'll know where their kid is probably going to get signed and further their career once they get to college. But as they're getting to that point, they're going to have their kid play multiple sports. Getting started with the recruiting process earlier and leaning on relationships is another hallmark card in their back pocket. Is they're going to get started with the recruiting process most likely a little bit earlier than your average athlete, and the parent who was a D1 athlete is going to probably lean heavily on relationships that they have to help their kid get their foot in the door. So it is what it is. It's no different than my dad's a politician, now I'm a politician. My dad was in Hollywood, now I'm in Hollywood, and he's leaning on his relationships to help me get that casting call and that part in that movie. It's the same thing. So these former athletes, when their kids are coming up through the ranks, they're going to get started earlier than most, and they're also going to lean heavily on their relationships. You can just tell a parent that had played at a high level, and how you can just watch and tell the way they're moving with their kid. It's just a lot more intentional. It's a lot more intentional from the very beginning. When I was coming out of 8th grade, me and my dad literally went to multiple high schools and watched their football programs play. And it was the whole intention that one day you are going to be playing college football. My dad played Division II football, and he played in the USFL. He had a cup of tea in training camp with the USFL. My grandfather's a Pro Football Hall of Famer. So it was very intentional the way that they were working with me. 9 times out of 10, another thing that you're going to find from an athlete of a parent who played at a high level is that there's going to be extra training. You can guarantee there is going to be extra training. When I was coming up, my dad had a dear friend who knew just as much as him, and he had played with in football, and that was my trainer. I didn't even realize the whole trainer thing. I just thought I was going to get some extra work with Coach White, Coach David White, who I knew was my dad's dear friend. Now, when I get older, I said, oh, wow, I'm looking at all of these kids with trainers. I had a trainer. I put in more work on the weekend when everybody else was riding their bike and at the park. I had to go to the local college, my dad's old school, San Francisco State, and spend a couple hours on the field with Coach White. And I have my own trainer. So one thing that you can definitely anticipate when you're thinking of the D1 formula that's being passed down from the former D1 athlete to the kid, there's going to be some extra training involved. Sometimes they take it upon themselves. The parent is actually the trainer. A lot of times they hand the kid over to somebody they trust, but they're heavily evaluating if this person knows what they're talking about. The other part of the D1 formula, you guys, that I see with former big-time athletes, and now their kids are coming through the ranks, they're talking to their kids differently. There's a lot of visualization. There's a lot more talk of the game, where they're talking the kid through the game. But then, one thing that I definitely notice is that they're not afraid to have the kid go to another school. They're not afraid to have the kid go to another school. So the parent that played at a high level is always evaluating if their kid is at the right school and if things are working on the proper timeline. They don't hesitate like other parents to put their kid in another school. These are just a few other things, you guys, that I'm watching former teammates who are now having kids with massive success, more success than them in many cases. And I'm saying there's a formula to this. I'm hearing some of the same things from these parents, and there is indeed a formula to this, you guys. So the good thing about that is that even if you are a parent and you weren't a big time athlete, or maybe you're a kid and your parent was an athlete, all of these things can be taken. All of these things that these other parents are doing that have some background, that maybe played at a high level themselves, all of these things can be taken. You want to be intentional. You want to start earlier. You want to have them in multiple sports. You want to build relationships you can lean on early. You want to not be scared to move them into a new situation if need be. Okay? And then just a lot of love, support, finding someone that can talk the game with them too. Talk the mindset game. That's what Before You Go Pro is all about. That's what the Weekday Huddle is all about. We're coming in here to talk the business and the mindset of football, of big time football. Okay? So these are things that are all a part of the D1 formula that I'm seeing former players use to get a leg up on everybody else. All right? So hopefully that sparks some interest and some thoughts for some of you young athletes, some of you parents of athletes. There's probably even many more things that I'm leaving out, but in a gist, these are the same thing. I talked to multiple parents recently that have kids coming through the ranks, and these are parents that played at a high level themselves, and now their kids are coming through the ranks, and they're telling me the same things. They're telling me the same things. So you guys can take it to the bank, all right? Hit that subscribe button. Check out the description box, baby. This is my weekend, so I'm going to get out of here. Hopefully you have a great weekend. This is Coach Wood. I'll see you at the top.